All righty, welcome into the Chico Bormann podcast, the Chico Bormann Show. That little stretch you heard as we came in, well, we'll tell you who that was here in just a moment. One guess, though. It's opening day for Major League Baseball. Your Cleveland Guardians are at the Coliseum in Oakland. God knows that place is going to be rocking later on tonight. And Major League Baseball is underway here as we bring this show to you on Thursday, March 28th. And who else would we bring on but number 29 in your program and number 1 in your heart? Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, won a few Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers. Now he's got the wildly popular, boom, write this down, wildly popular Bret Boone podcast. Boonie, how you doing?
Chico, I'm doing well. Glad to see you're doing well. Bohm's back in the house. I've missed you guys. Opening day.
Have you really missed us?
Back
just
to
saying
work.
That?
No, that's just what I say on air.
Okay, I figured. That's all right. Yeah. By the way, we got a sponsor this year for the Bret Boone Show coming to you weekly here on the Chico Bormann Show, and that is our friends at Master Pizza. 15 locations to serve you. Just added 2 more last year. They've got the specialty menu. Boom, you know I am a big fan of the old world style pepperoni sausage. That was the big winner on the Hulu show, Best in Dough. But plenty of great pies, 22 specialty pies. Boonie, do you like, you strike me, maybe it's the Southern California thing. You strike me as a guy that would like pineapple on your pizza. Fair or foul?
Foul.
Good. Attaboy. Boom.
I'm a back east guy. I'm a Jersey kid. I'm
That's
a
right.
pepperoni, thin sliced. That's what I am. I like jalapenos on it now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan of that.
Well, you're a spicy kind of guy. Yeah, you're a
pepperoni jalapeno is that's what I like.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say, congratulate. It's been a busy off season for you away from the game. Of course, your daughter married. We talked about the Oakland A's. Daughter married Nick Allen, shortstop for the A's. So congratulations on that. And
good kid. I just talked to him. Wished him a happy opening day. This will be his first opening day ever as a starter in the big leagues. So as much as I tease him about it, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So hopefully he gets off to a good start. Now, for today, I'm going to have to kick the Guardians to the curb and pull for the Oakland Athletics.
That's understandable. That's understandable. You and 4 others that'll be in attendance.
There's a pecking order there. There's a pecking order.
Yeah, that's fair. Family comes first, and he is now family. So we respect that. Being a family show here at the Chico Bormann Show and the Big Play Sports Network. All right. Boonie, I want to ask you this. I ask you this every opening day. As you said, I'm joking with him a little bit. You said, but it is a big deal. Your first opening day is a big deal. After that, do you still get the jitters a little bit, or is it just, well, this is one of 162?
No, without a doubt you do. And if you don't, there's something a little bit wrong with you if you don't. I remember my first opening day. I remember my last. No difference. No difference in between as far as how I'm feeling. It's the hustle and bustle. Let's get to the ballpark. Cincinnati was the biggest. That was back when it was customary for years that the Cincinnati Reds were always the first game on opening day. We had the big parade,
12:35.
And we were always number 1. A lot of hoopla going on. And nowadays, there's hoopla going on everywhere. You know you're going to get there. There's going to be a ton of press. There's going to be a ton of fair weather fans that only go to opening day and the postseason and all-star games. Everything's going to lead up to going out to right field and coming through the fence and lining up on the first base line.
Tip of your cap.
Tip of your cap.
That's right. Yeah.
I loved it. At the same time, as a player, it's like, okay, now we got to play the game. My hope always for opening day was don't embarrass yourself. Hopefully you get a win out of it. We get all the crap out of the way. And game 2 is kind of when the season starts. I mean, you hope to have a good showing opening day. Hopefully you get like I said, a W. But you're really playing for game 2. That's what players really are planning for. Game 2. Game 1's like almost an exhibition. It's for
I
the
can see
opening
that.
of the season. It's for the crowds. And then game 2, it's like, all right, we can get into this grind. And we got 161 more. So, yeah, that was and to be quite honest with you, Chico, if you go back through my records, I was not too good on opening day. The hits were far and few between. But like I said, it was a survival, get through opening day. And then, man, it seems like day 2, you could wake up on day 2 and it just as well could have been in the middle of July. It was just, okay,
So
here it is.
allow me to offer my theories on why Bret Boone may not have been his best on opening day, because Boonie, we've had many conversations over the years, and I'm so grateful for that. You are a routine-oriented guy, and I would think you or anyone like you, opening day is kind of like, okay, hey, now we're going to go through, we're going to have a video from last year, and then you got to go up, we're going to introduce all the players, like you said, coming out of right field. There's too much of I don't say too much because it is for the fans, and you admitted it. Like, yeah, we should do it this way, pomp and circumstance. But game 2 and then every game after that, for the most part, is back to your routine, which for a lot of the guys, that's what it's all about.
Well, opening day is kind of like an all-star game.
Yeah.
Believe me, I don't want to take that away. The all-star experience, it's cool. You get your music played for you. You get a huge standing ovation. Opening days, the crowd's going crazy. I mean, it pumps you up. It's an awesome experience, but it's almost like an exhibition. It's almost like, okay, this is what we do to get the season started. It's really not real yet. And you have the I wouldn't call it nervousness. It's just butterflies. It's butterflies. Like, all right, let's get this thing going.
Excitement, butterflies.
And my first at bat, whatever you do, don't chase 2 sliders off the plate in the dirt and strike out and embarrass yourself. That was the key. All-star game, same thing. Don't embarrass yourself. Yeah, I'd love to get a hit, but if you don't get a hit, that's not what's important. It's don't embarrass yourself. Don't go back home and have the boys, whoever the team you're playing with at the time, don't give them any material. That was my goal in an all-star game. Just like opening day, you don't want to start off that way. You want to start off with a clean, couple solid at bats, get through it. Tomorrow, it's the real start.
Former all-star second baseman, current host of the Bret Boone podcast. I joke with the wildly popular, but it really is wildly popular. And he's getting guests from Deion Sanders. I saw you had John Anderson from ESPN. We'll get into that at the end, so you can pump up and tell us who you've got coming up on the show. All right, before we get into predictions, which is pretty much what this episode is going to be all about here on the Chico Bormann Show on the Big Play Sports Network. Sho-Hei Ohtani. He was the big story when the Dodgers, obviously, and kind of the worst kept secret. It was
English. No English.
What's that? No English.
No English.
It was it was the big story when he got signed. And then now I'll just ask it this way, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is going on. It's ongoing, I should say. And I would ask you, does what Sho-Hei and the Dodgers are saying, I'm not saying guilty, innocent, does it pass the smell test for you?
I think you know my answer. Okay. Serious note. As everybody knows, I am a huge Sho-Hei Ohtani fan.
Both of us, yep.
Have been. Can't believe what he's done. Didn't think it was possible at the big league level to do what Shohei's done on the field. So in my mind, I go over this like we always do with people we like. Okay, how can he be innocent on all charges? How could this not be real? And I've gone through scenario after scenario in my brain. And my conclusion is something doesn't add up here.
Yeah.
It's not right. The thing I have a problem with is people immediately going from this and going to the Pete Rose scenario. I don't go anywhere close to the Pete Rose scenario from a betting on baseball standpoint. I've been around this game too much. Guys like to gamble. The red-blooded Americans like to gamble. People on football is obviously the big thing, but sitting there on a Sunday afternoon and, hey, I want to put a little on the Bills or whoever. That's just part of, I think you talk to most gentlemen out there. That's going to be, I put a little money on a game. Baseball wise, we always have a round robin pool in the locker room for March Madness. It's just a part of life. Now, never, and this is honest, never have I met a baseball player, teammate, or just colleague that's ever even considered talking about betting on the game of baseball. So I think what Pete did, he's really in the minority in that capacity. So I don't even go to the baseball thing and saying or even insinuating that he would have thought of it. There's just too many things that don't add up. First of all, it's what I'm hearing, and I don't have all the facts, so I don't want to sit here and speak factually. But what I'm hearing is 8 or 9 payments were made at, in totaling at least at $4.5 million. Well, that's, if you do the math, that's roughly about $500,000 every time you're making a wire. Now, I've made wire transfers before. Wire transfers aren't just something willy-nilly you can pop on your phone and hit the send button. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of paperwork. I know if I wired somebody $4,000, I'm not going to get a call from my accountant. If I wired $500,000, I think I'm going to get a call going, Bret, we're not to get in your business or anything, but I just want to make sure this is on the up and up. That's what accountants do. That's what people at Morgan Stanley do. They watch your funds. They protect you. So he's going to get a phone call saying, Sho-Hei, I know you make a ton of money, and he makes way more money than I could imagine. He got a phone call saying, hey, this is going through, because you don't just put them through. Ippei's not just putting through these under the guise of tone. All right. That being said, let's go to phase 2. Who's going to give you a credit line of $4.5 million as said interpreter for Sho-Hei Ohtani? And I'll make it as simple as I can. If you're buying your car for your son, it's his first car, he's going to go in, fill out the paperwork to build his credit, and daddy's going to be there as the co-signer in case anything goes wrong. Ippei's not getting okayed $4.5 million credit line without Sho-Hei giving him the
I'll co-sign for it. Yeah, exactly.
It's not realistic. It's not how the world works. If it was a $45,000 debt, Ippei got a little sideways. He started getting a little crazy with the bet. I would buy that. Mm-hmm. But $4.5 million, 9 different payments. Put it this way: if you weren't gambling and you had nothing to do with anything, and you got your first bill for $500,000, I'm a non-gambler, but I've co-signed the loan. Don't you think I'm going to kind of say, cut it off? We don't do that anymore. But 8 more payments were made. So
before we get to the Dodgers and actually, breaking them down and will this affect all that, I just one last thing I want to say is that this is I'm not going to say it's the end of the world, but because of it. But let's just face it: Major League Baseball, National Football League, the NBA, like all of them. They went from 10, 12 years ago, Boonie, saying we are never, ever going to get in bed with Vegas or gambling. And now you look at the NFL, they've got a team in Vegas, and they've gotten in bed big time with gambling. The Oakland A's possibly going to Vegas. Who knows that story? So, I mean, you've created a monster in a way. These sports have. Now, the players, like you said, and I think you drew that line very well, like what is right, what is wrong. But it's not like Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA is saying, oh, boy, they try to do it the right way. You know what you're getting into. I mean, this is if you're going to sleep with the enemy, which it was the enemy for so many years, things like this are going to pop up and maybe pop up with regularity. We hope not, but it can happen.
Right. And because people are making bets, it's not like these are, these are criminals.
Yes.
It's like, no,
exactly.
I made a wager, and my wager, because of my income, is a little higher than yours.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all it is. It's no different than the guy that works 9 to 5 being in the hole 45,000 or 4,500. It's all relative. But it doesn't look good. It's a bad look. Yep. And the fact that the stories have changed, and I want to completely give him the benefit of the doubt, and it was just something that got a little sideways, but the stories that keep changing, that just makes it a little bit worse for me. So we'll see, and I hope everything works out. And once again, we don't have all the facts. The way I believe the way this came to light is whoever was booking the bets, they were rated, and Sho-Hei's name came up on some records, and so the feds have got all the information, so it's gonna come out. We're gonna find out what happened.
All right,
I just hope it's minimal damage to him and the Dodgers in the game of baseball.
Time to get down to the meat and potatoes, as it is opening day here towards the end of March, and your Guardians are going to be out west in Oakland. I believe the first game is I want to say Rangers-Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. I might have that wrong. I don't know. But baseball all day long. And, of course, we're talking to Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, host of the Bret Boone podcast and the Bret Boone show. And this spot here on the Chico Bormann Show is brought to you by our good friends at Master Pizza. 15 locations, including 2 new ones in Brecksville and Streetsboro, to serve you better. So check them out. All right, Boonie, let's start in the NL West, since we've already started there with Sho-Hei. They spent the most money, not just Sho-Hei, plenty of others. Yesterday, the news, they extended Will Smith. I mean, they're doing whatever they have to do.
Good player.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I guess you want to say, do we think that the Sho-Hei thing will be a distraction? Hell, Boonie, they might be so great that even if it is a distraction to some degree or for a period of time, they're probably still going to comfortably win the National League West Division. Agree or disagree?
I don't disagree, and I don't agree. I don't think it's just a foregone conclusion because it's baseball, and nothing's a foregone conclusion. Health is going to determine a lot in this division. This division, to me, is the best division in baseball. And I'll tell you why. Okay, there's a lot of what ifs for me on the Dodgers roster. Now, it's not arguable that it's not a star-studded lineup. It is, but there's a lot of what ifs for me. Let's go with the offense first. So Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. That's as good as it gets. 1, 2, 3. It's as good as it gets, assuming they're healthy, relatively healthy for the majority of the season. Max Muncy is going to hit 30 home runs. Will Smith, for me, an underrated player, just a really good, solid backstop. You got Gavin Lux, an up-and-comer. Taylor and Kiki Hernandez are just great role players. So they're loaded on the offensive side of the ball. They're loaded star power-wise, pitching as well. But there's question marks for me. Walker Buehler, is he going to be the Walker Buehler we're used to?
Yeah.
If he is, he's a bona fide number 1 top of the rotation guy. Glasnow comes over from Tampa Bay. When he's healthy, bona fide top of the rotation type guy. But Ken Glasnow, I don't think he's ever pitched 150 innings. Is he going to be healthy? He's proven in the past he's not always healthy. Okay, now we move on to Yamamoto. Just paid him in excess of $300 million coming over from Japan. Currently the most heralded guy on the Japanese side.
And could win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, had a rough spring, got beat up right out of the gate in the first game against the San Diego Padres.
Yep.
So I don't put much credence into that. I'm not a spring training guy. He's a seasoned veteran.
Right.
I don't care about his spring training ERA. He got beat up day one. He still has to prove himself. Yeah, he's a Japanese star. He's got to prove himself at the big league level. That's a question mark. Kershaw, they're going to take it really slow with him. He's going to be back later in the season. That's pretty good having a Clayton Kershaw as your 5th starter at the end of that rotation. But there are a lot of what ifs for me. Yes, great if all these guys are healthy and and it bores out the way it should, they should be a great team. But I don't just automatically hand it to them because of the moves I've seen throughout the division. I mean, nobody talks about Arizona Diamondbacks, who just got out of the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Carroll and Marte, who are their stars. You've added Eugenio Suarez from the Seattle Mariners. That rotation of Gallen, Kelly. Now you've added Montgomery, who was a huge part of that Texas Rangers run.
Yep.
I love the catcher Moreno, the young kid Perdomo. They
top of the rotation. You got Zach Gallen, right?
Yeah, Gallen and Kelly are the top of the rotation. Now you've added a Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah,
that's a formidable team, and a team a year ago that nobody gave a chance to, and they just kept winning, and ended up being two games away from winning a World Series.
Are the Diamondbacks the biggest threat to the Dodgers in the West, Booney?
I don't think so. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
I think the Giants are. I think the Giants have had the best offseason out of anybody. You go out, you got Blake Snell recently. Okay, if he's the Blake Snell of a year ago, Cy Young Award winner, he's as good as it gets, top of the rotation. Here's the caveat. Logan Webb, I think he's going to win a Cy Young before it's all said and done. He's sitting in the number 2 hole for them. And then Robbie Ray, who won the Cy Young in 2021, coming off Tommy John. I've seen this time and time again. Guys come back from Tommy John stronger than when they left it. If he's any way, shape, and form the Robbie Ray of 2021, that's as good 1, 2, 3 as it gets right there. They've added Chapman, which is going to shore up their defense. I'm hearing a lot of good things. He had a really good spring about the Korean kid Lee.
Yep.
Supposed to be the best player to come out of Korea. He signed a contract with them in excess of $100 million. And Solar, who's coming over, hit 36 homers last year. I think the Giants can threaten the Dodgers, then move on to the Padres. Musgrove, Darvish, King, underrated. King was in the bullpen for the New York Yankees. He came over in the Soto trade. And then Dylan Cease you added. They still got Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth. That's a talented team. Under expectations a year ago, 82-80. I think the Padres can be a threat as well. So this is star-studded division, the best division in baseball. If you put a gun to my head, I've got to say the Dodgers are going to win the division, but it's not going to surprise me if any one of the three, Padres, Giants, or Arizona, upset and win that division. And for me, it would be the Giants have the best opportunity because of the quality of the 1, 2, 3 starters potentially. Okay,
National League East. We'll get to the Central in a moment last, but the National League East, a lot of intrigue there. You've got the Braves, an incredible season, 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases, Ronald Acuna. You have, I mean, just offensively, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris. It's ridiculous. The rotation, maybe the best guy in baseball now that Garrett Cole's hurt, is Spencer Strider. I think a lot of people like the Braves. The Phillies, you know, Boonie, the Phillies, they're getting older, but I feel like the Phillies are going to challenge them. And I also feel like a guy you and I talked about a great deal last year, and whether he would or wouldn't get extended by Philly, was Aaron Nola. We know Wheeler's great, but I get the sense that Nola's going to have to be the Nola, you know, from the postseason and the guy that came on late. He's going to have to be that guy if they truly are going to overtake the Braves in the East.
Yeah, on paper, I think the Braves are still, I think a year ago I said this, I think they're the best team in baseball a year ago. I think they're the best team in baseball now. The wild card being Sale. If Sale's a shred of what he could be, that's over the top number one team for me.
Okay.
I think you make a fair point with Nola. I don't buy Nola. I still don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of
he had an unbelievable postseason run. He was great. I don't buy him in the long run. I don't. They look similar. The stuff is there, but he's never taken it to that next level. And if he's not the Nola they signed for they extended for $150 million, it's not enough to overcome the Braves. Turner and Harper leading that crew. It's a great team. That's a playoff team without a doubt. And as we know right now, once you get into the playoffs in 2023, 2024, anything can happen.
Last 2 years have certainly played
anything
that
can
out.
happen. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, just because the Phillies can't win the division, that doesn't mean they can't win the World Series. We've seen that being proven wrong. But I don't think over the marathon, the 162, they're just not a better team than the Atlanta Braves. Braves are just a superior team. And I think over a long run, they will win that division. I think the Mets are a little bit better. Senga, we'll see how Severino does. Had a rough finish with the Yankees, but has always been promising. Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo, they brought Bader over, just signed a late guy in JD Martinez, who I think adds more than just his bat to the organization. He adds a wealth of knowledge. He's a hitting kind of guru. I think he adds a lot to that clubhouse. I think the Mets are going to be decent, and they get beat up so much because of the expectations of falling short.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a pretty solid division.
All right. Clearly the least frightening of the three divisions in the National League, the Central Division. The Cubs, they got some new faces there, and including the manager, and Craig Counsell takes over there. So are the Cubs finally able to get back to, I don't want to say where they were, maybe winning a World Series in 2016, but are they the class of a not-so-great division in the National League Central?
I don't think so. I think they're no different than they were a year ago. 82 win team, 84 win team. To me, they didn't add enough. Nothing there really stands out as good enough to make a real run and be a real competitive team. I think the Reds have gotten a little bit better. The second baseman, I really like him, McLean. He just got injured, so he's not going to be available. That's a big blow to the Reds. But they got a lot of young, talented kids on that Reds. I'm going to just go back to it's almost like Tampa Bay to me, Chico. That Cardinals team, it just seems year in, year out, with the exception of a year ago. The Cardinals finishing in the basement of one of the weakest divisions in baseball is an anomaly. That doesn't happen. I think they'll get things straight again. I really like Sonny Gray right now. I think Sonny Gray, if the Cardinals aren't a contender in that division, Sonny Gray is going to be one of those deadline guys. I think Sonny Gray, for me, he's my wild card to really live up to the potential that he had 8-10 years ago when he was coming in the league. I think he's really in his prime and poised to do something really good in St. Louis. He got the big deal there. You still got Goldschmidt and Arenado at the corners there. Lance Lynn, Mick. I don't know. I'm not excited. I'm not excited about anybody in that division at all.
Right.
But they are a division in Major League Baseball, so we have to discuss them. So for me, it's either the Reds or the Cardinals. Flip a coin, I'd say, in the end, because of the history and kind of that Tampa Bay culture that they create in St. Louis. It's like, hey, we here win. It's not a matter of if we're going to the playoffs. We're going to the playoffs. They have that culture that they.
You want to put the Cardinals? Are you? Now the gun's going to go to your head. You Cardinals?
I got to put the Cardinals there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's between the Cardinals and the Reds. To me, I say the Cardinals make a comeback and they're back in business. They win that division.
So to wrap up the National League, you've got the Braves in the East. You've got the Cards in the Central. Dodgers in the West. Your three wild card teams are, I'm guessing the Phillies are one of those.
All right. Here's what I'm saying. And this is kind of an out on a limb call. 4 teams go to the playoffs from the NL West.
Okay. So the Phillies don't make it.
Correct.
Wow. Ooh.
Dodgers, Padres, Arizona, and the Giants, all 4 go to the playoffs.
I like the bold prediction, kind of like your buddy
bold.
Jim Bowden that we're going to get to in a moment here.
That's bold.
That is a bold prediction. All right, so that's the National League. Let's head over to the American League. Before we get into any more predictions, though, we're talking to obviously Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, Gold Glover, and is the host of the Bret Boone podcast. And Bret Boone each and every week here on the Chico Bormann Show, brought to you by our good friends at Master Pizza, 15 locations to serve you best. Before we get into your predictions, Jim Bowden, your good buddy, had
I like me some Jim Bowden.
and Jim Bowden liked predictions based on our boy. We love him. You love him. Your blood. He's blood for you, Uncle Arnie. But even I'm a big Uncle Arnie fan. Apparently, Bowden says that Uncle Arnie, his first ejection, he's going to get tossed on April 16th. He's going to be arguing balls and strikes. He says he's going to, I think 8 ejections in one season is the most he's had, 7 or 8. He says he's going to break it by 1 this year. Yankees have some issues, but he says that he will get extended because they're excited about the youngsters coming up, and they don't want to mess with that. So I'm guessing Uncle Arnie kind of at first he's like, my gosh, we get Juan Soto. How about that 1-2 punch with him and Judge? But then you get a gut punch with Garrett Cole, and I don't think anybody knows, and it wouldn't be a big surprise if it's not just 2 months, Boonie, if he's not there for the year, if he's not able to pitch this year for the Yankees, do they have a shot still at winning that American League East? Because it's competitive.
I'm never gonna count the Yankees out. They're more than anybody on this list for me. It's about health. You're already missing DJ LeMahieu out of the chute, and he's not getting any younger. Rizzo is not getting any younger. The Torres kid at second base, a good player. I think you can count on him. And then you go to the Stanton. Can I count on him? I need him healthy. The most important guy on the team, obviously, Aaron Judge. I think Aaron Judge healthy is as big an offensive force, probably the biggest offensive force in all of baseball. So that's a must for them. And him and Soto having a healthy 150 games, let's call it, getting on the field, that's as good a dynamic duo as there is on the offensive side. A lot of question marks for me from the pitching standpoint. You know, when Garrett Cole's there, he's the stabilizer. He's the guy that everybody can look to, and I call him a stopper because the season's so long and you're going to get in some ruts where you have a 2 or 3 game losing streak. Well, Garrett Cole was that guy. All right, we're reeling right now, but he's pitching tomorrow. We're going to win. From a mentality standpoint, that's huge to have that guy on your rotation. Arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Mm-hmm. He's not there for you. That's huge. That's a huge blow. And like you mentioned, they're going to rest it. It's going to be a couple months, but then you come back, and now if something happens again, now your surgery, now you're backed up a year. So that scares me a little bit. Hopefully they're doing the right thing there. But after that, I look at a Rodon. 2 years ago, I was all in on Rodon. They gave him the big deal to come over, had a Cy Young caliber season. He comes over, just hasn't lived up to it. Had a rough spring. His last outing got beat up again. Once again, veteran players, I don't put much credence into their spring training statistics. Very overrated. But when you're coming off a real rough season, you're looking for a glimmer. You're looking for something to look for. Nestor Cortez, I don't know. I'm hearing mixed reviews on his spring, how he looks. Then you go to Clark Schmidt, who does a real good job for him, but he's an end of the rotation guy. And then you have Stroman, who I think he's Stroman. He's got a lot to say. He's a good quality big league guy. I think, and if you're a playoff caliber team, I think he's a nice number 3. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going there to compete, to prove to everybody that I'm capable of doing on the big stage here in New York. I think Stroman's a good addition, but with that group of characters that I just mentioned, and I don't mean characters in a condescending way, that group of guys in that starting rotation, is that enough to win that division? I don't know that it is. And that's with everybody staying healthy. So the Cole blow is as big a blow as any team has had, I think, in either league.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say I'm with you with Stroman. Like, he's the perfect number 3, but if
on a championship caliber team,
right? But right. In a situation where if they're really going to be counting on him to be the de facto one because Rodon's not going to get back to where he was, or Cortez.
Right.
Now all of a sudden,
right,
you
got
a
different dynamic.
Yep.
How
about the Orioles? I mean, again, you said you're not going to count out the Yankees. Who do you like with the in the American League East? The Orioles beat up rotation. You like the Blue Jays?
I like the Blue Jays. I love Gossman, Berrios, Bassett, Kikuchi. I love Romano's their closer. He's right up there with the best in the game. I just like that offense. It hasn't lived up to its expectation. I think Vlad Guerrero is going to get back to an MVP caliber season.
That would be huge for them.
I'm picking the Blue Jays in that division. Never, ever, and you know this about me, never will I count out the Tampa Bay Rays. Who knows? They clean house. They get rid of Glass now. They're big guys on the shelf.
Yeah.
They'll still find a way. It's a culture thing. You come into Tampa Bay, you go to spring training, you walk in that clubhouse, and there's something about it that says it's not a matter of if we go to the postseason. It's when and how far we go into the postseason, and they've created that there. I'm never going to count the Rays out. They're like a magic team to me. Orioles, I'm hearing so many good things about them and how good they are and how deep they are with young talent. I think it was big getting Corbin Burns coming over from the Milwaukee Brewers to be the top of that rotation. I think he's poised to have a Cy Young caliber year, and maybe for me, he's my Cy Young pick in the American League. I don't know, though. All the hype of this Orioles team, and I look at the team and I understand they got Gunnar Henderson and they got Adley Rutschman and they've got
Jackson Holiday at some point is going to be coming up.
Right, but I look at that and then I look at Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. I look at the Yankees with a Soto and a Aaron Judge. I look at the Phillies, that offense.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the Braves with an Olsen and an Acuna. There are way better offensive teams than the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles are a nice group of players.
Yeah.
But they're not in that breadth that the clubs I just mentioned. Is Burns enough to, and look at the rotation. It's
banged
solid
up right now. Yeah.
It's solid. Yeah, but it doesn't jump out at you.
Right.
It's not a healthy Walker Buehler, Glasnow, Yamamoto. It's solid. And you got Burns at the top, the X factor.
Yeah.
For me, I'm rolling with the Blue Jays and Tampa Bay over the Orioles.
Let me say
I wouldn't be shocked if the Orioles don't go to the postseason.
Let me just say this about Baltimore, because on a smaller scale, I'm not comparing the Guardians and the Orioles before anybody crushes me. But going into last year, the year before, the Guardians won 92 games, right? Stephen Kwan had a good year. Andres Gimenez had a good year. So it was like we automatically think, well, they're the progression is just, the improvement's linear, right? It's just doot. You did this last year, so you're going to be better this year. There's a chance. I mean, I don't think Gunnar Henderson's gonna stink up the joint. I don't think Adley Rutschman's gonna stink up the joint. But I
expect more out of Mullins, their center fielder.
Cedric Mullins, if he's healthy. But I mean, there is that. We automatically say they won all those games with those guys. They're only going to get better. But sometimes that progression that improvement isn't always linear, Boonie. Sometimes it takes, and the Guardians saw it firsthand last year.
Sometimes that's a lot of players' ceilings.
Yeah.
They don't have a dynamic player like the aforementioned. They don't have an Acuna on their team. They don't have an Aaron Judge. They don't have a Soto. They don't have a Fernando Tatis. They don't have a Machado. They don't have a Bryce Harper on their team. They don't have a Trey Turner on their team. They don't have an Ohtani. They don't have a Mookie Betts, and they don't have a Freddie Freeman.
Maybe have those guys in the making, but not right now, is your point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, so you like Toronto in the East. Let's go to the Central Division, our Guardians, and, well, Stephen Vogt takes over as skipper for Terry Francona. Guardians really needed to improve the offense, and
they didn't.
Their big signing was $4 million for Austin Hedges, the backup catcher. The Guardians last year, Boonie. Yes, that's right. The Guardians outfield last year, Boonie, combined, I believe it was 16 home runs. 16. total.
We need more than that.
What's that?
We need more than that.
Yeah, I've never seen or heard anything like that. Now, this is where I'll go back to what I just said about the Orioles and where I gave the Guardians this example. If you can get guys, and this is a big if, but if you can get guys like Steven Kwan to get back to 2 years ago, Andres Gimenez to get back to 2 years ago, where they didn't have MVP numbers, but they were much better than they were a year ago, that would go.
MVPs.
That's what I'm saying. That they're not going to have those. But if they get back to those numbers they were 2 years ago, that's going to help. But in the end, is it enough offense? Are they going to be able to score enough runs when push comes to shove? And I think right now, look, I'd love to be optimistic, but there's no way I'm taking the Guardians to knock off the Twins in the division.
Well, once again, it's another weak division. It's not like the Twins are this great, but
yeah,
I always go to pitching. I really like what I saw late in the year for the Guardians as far as from a pitching standpoint. Bybee, Allen, McKenzie's back, correct? Bieber.
Yeah, Bieber, and he's looked good, did that whole drive line thing in the offseason.
They all had, collectively as a rotation, they had a really nice spring. Williams?
No. Now he got hurt, and he was a guy, let me tell you this, Boonie. I was having breakfast not long ago with, you may even, maybe, I don't think you would know. Was having breakfast with our great Bob DiBiasio with the Guardians, and we got to Gavin Williams, and he's like, Chico, I'll tell you what, right now, all of what you were seeing last year with Gavin Williams was just raw stuff. They really didn't have a chance. He didn't really have a chance to work a lot. He could be special. That was about a month before the injury and the elbow started barking. It seems like a lot of elbows are barking around Major League Baseball when you got 60 guys throwing triple digits. But that said, I'm with you. I was so much more excited because I thought Gavin Williams was going to be the guy that takes huge jump.
He's a big hoss.
Yeah, Bybee, and Bybee's just, the consummate professional and is very good. I thought Williams was going to take the big step forward, and now we're not even sure if he's going to be able to pitch and log a lot of innings. So it's just that.
Well, the thing about it is, you look at that Twins team, they're okay. They're fine. Lopez and Ryan Ober, they were good in the postseason last year. They pitched really well.
I think Lopez is great.
But I'll tell you, pound for pound, the Cleveland Guardians can match up with them from a starting rotation standpoint. The Guardians need to do this, I think. They need to look around that clubhouse and realize what they are. They're not a home run hitting, bashing machine, but you got a lot of guys out there that run the bases, and you got a lot of guys, especially with the new rules, that steal a lot of bases. Jimenez a year ago, he had a drop off from what we were expecting, but he still stole 30 bags. You got one star on that team, Ramirez, and it's not changing, I don't think. He steals a lot of bags. Kwan's got to be running. Straw's got to be running.
Essentially, 2 years ago, it needs to replicate itself this year. They need to do that again.
Naylor had a really nice year for him a year ago.
Yeah.
He had an injury, but he can play the first baseman.
And they're high on his brother behind the plate.
Yeah, Bo. They need to just realize what they are from an offensive ball club and accentuate that. Kind of got to be like a 2016 version of the Kansas City Royals that won the World Series. If they embrace what they are instead of trying to be something they're not, it's going to be a long year for them. But I think from a starting rotation and with Clase anchoring that bullpen, I don't count the Cleveland Guardians out by any means, especially in that division.
I'm nervous. One last thing on the Guardians. Obviously, we got to spend a little bit more time on that.
And it is funny to continue to say the word Guardians.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's funny even now. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not.
And my boy Albert Bell does not like it. All right, go ahead.
I saw a picture. I saw a video of Albert's. He slimmed down, and then now I wouldn't say this to his face. He slimmed down. He looked great, and then it looked like he may have hit a few of those Mexican buffets in Arizona. but Albert still. I mean, we love Albert. We absolutely.
He's Albert.
The bullpen scares me, and it's not, Clase, word is he's getting back to where he was a couple years ago. Scott Barlow, I think, was a nice pickup, kind of setting him up. But now all of a sudden, Trevor Stephan, who was great 2 years ago, he's hurt. You don't know what he's going to be able to do. James Karinchak has been a mess with the clock and everything, and just in general a mess. I don't mean that to be cold, but he has.
Well,
been.
Usually guys that are that eccentric, it's not a big window.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't know what you're getting. Sam Henches went down, the big lefty. He was going to play a key role, and he's got some sort of finger injury. So if they can get to Barlow and then obviously Clase, I'll be very, very happy. But I think right now in that bullpen, that is a huge, huge question mark for them. All right, so with all that said, who are you going with in the American League Central Division, Boonie?
I'm going to go with the Twins.
Okay.
But I do not rule out the Guardians. I think it's up in the air.
It is. Not
If Bieber comes back and Bibby's Bibby and McKenzie comes back, we could be talking a completely different scenario. Gun to my head right now on the spot before opening day, everything we know, I've got to go with the Twins and how they performed once they got in that starting rotation. But it's not going to surprise me at all if Cleveland outplays them, if they remain healthy. Won't be a big surprise to me.
All right.
But if gun to my head, I'm going with the Twins.
All right. Now to the West Division. Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, and Gold Glover, now host of the Bret Boone podcast. So we go from a not so great division in the Central to a very competitive division in the American League West. The Astros, this is mind-numbing. I mean, I don't think we talk about this enough. If they make it to the ALCS this year, it'll be 8 consecutive trips. Boonie, that's like the glory years for the Braves almost. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that 8 championship series is nuts. So the Astros are there. Obviously, we know about the Rangers and what they were able to do last year. They still got, some injuries, whatever. Your Mariners, Boonie, with, that rotation, those 3. Now, you were talking about the Dodgers rotation. You've got Luis Castillo. You've got George Kirby. Many people love this year to take a huge step, and Logan Gilbert. Who wins that Central Division? That's going to be a great race. West Division.
I think push comes to shove, I got to go with Houston. Although Verlander starts the season on the IL, they're going to take it slow with him. He's getting up there in years. Valdez and Javier will be the crux of that starting rotation. Valdez not having the year that he had 2 years ago last year. They said that the pitch clock really affected him. I look for Valdez to bounce back. I think that's a real formidable starting rotation. But now with the addition of Hader Presley at the end,
and Abreu when he comes back off suspension,
it doesn't get much better. They're really got a power bullpen. I think for me, probably the best bullpen in the American League. And then you look at that offense. I mean, talk about an offense too. I've touched on the Braves offense, the Phillies, the Dodgers offense, Padres offense. But man, that Houston offense, top to finish, just professional hitters. Tucker.
I think Tucker could be an MVP this year,
without a doubt. And Alvarez is always in the MVP discussion. Altuve, you can't keep him out. Bregman, up and down that lineup. Pena had a little bit of a down year after his freshman year. I expect him to bounce back. He's a talent. That's just a real professional lineup, start to finish. I got to go with Houston in that division. But once again, Mariners have the best starting rotation in baseball. That's coming for me.
I like that Polanco addition. I
like it
sneaky.
too. I saw him a little bit in spring training. I was a little hesitant about Polanco, saying, you take it a couple of years ago, I believe he hit 31 or 33 homers for the Twins.
Yep.
Go back 2 or 3 years ago. He's been banged up a little bit, but for some reason, I saw him briefly in spring training. I like the look of him in the middle of that lineup. He puts the ball in play a lot more. They lost Eugenio Suarez and the right fielder, Teoscar Hernandez. That's 190 RBIs they got to replace. But they replaced him with a Garver from Texas, who's a bat to ball guy,
He can be
and
a DH for
Polanco.
them. Yeah, Garver
Yeah,
could end up hitting
Polanco in
30.
the middle of that lineup. I like it. Julio, he's going to be a superstar for a lot of years.
Oh, he's special.
Um, yeah, Ty France. How does he bounce back? I really like the strides Crawford made a year ago. Their shortstop.
JP. Yep.
He's a year in and year out. He's going to be in the Gold Glove conversation every year, and he really has gotten better offensively at the top of that order. And look for the Mariners to win 90 plus games and be a competitive team in that division. And then Texas has got to find a way. Offensively, how good are they? We haven't even mentioned their offense.
Oh, it's
From
incredible.
Seager to Garcia to Simeon. It's ridiculous. They got studs all over the place. Heim, the young kid, Evan Carter. How good of a postseason does he have?
Wyatt Langford.
Reminded me of a Chipper Jones from a poise perspective.
Beautiful.
Awesome. But it's not the rotation that it was a year ago. Montgomery gone. DeGrom. At best, we'll see him mid-season. Scherzer, at best, we see him mid-season. So you still got Evalde, who's
you like him, yeah.
He's developed into a number one guy. Give me the ball, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Got him at the top of the rotation, and then you've got a formidable rotation right now without the big guys. John Gray does a great job. Dunning does a great job. Heaney, pretty good job. So it's formidable. They've got to find a way and overpower you offensively, which if they're healthy, they will overpower you offensively to just stay relevant till you can potentially get to DeGrom and a Scherzer.
Okay, so Jays, Twins, Astros, your 3 American League wild card teams. This is going to be an interesting one. Who are your 3 wild cards in the American League?
Mariners.
I agree.
The Texas Rangers, and I can't leave them out. The Tampa Bay Rays.
See, I take the Rangers.
You can't leave them out. They never don't make it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree. The team that I would leave out and put the Orioles in for is the Rangers, believe it or not. I don't think that rotation. I know they can mash, but who knows what you're going to get from DeGrom and Scherzer and it's just too many question marks. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm with you. You never argue with the Rays. You just don't.
Chico, on our just award-winning opening day, usually our predictions are 100% right on.
Yes. Mine have always been. Yours by 97. All right, World Series, nuts and bolts. Here we go. Who's winning it from the National League? Who's winning it from the American League? And then who's got who in the Fall Classic?
Well, it's so boring for
I know.
and
that's what I said after I made my pick.
This is never going to work out, but on paper for me, the Braves win the World Series because they're the best team, and Houston's playing in the World Series because they've been to the postseason. Like you said, it would be 8 in a row that they won their division and moved on deep into the postseason. So it's the Braves in Houston, and the Braves win, and that couldn't be any more boring than of a prediction than you could possibly imagine.
Well, mine might be boring.
My prediction.
I've got the Dodgers over the Astros. Would that be more boring?
Just as boring.
Yeah,
I think it's a tie.
I mean, Dodgers Braves. Look, the 162 is important, obviously, but it's all about and you're right. I mean, you talked about Texas, you talked about Arizona. These are teams that were seeded 5 and 6.
Happen though. So many things happen throughout the course of the season. You know? And it's just the injury bug, and especially I think it plays a bigger role in today's game than it did back even when I was playing. Injuries are just much more prevalent. They affect. It seems like nowadays an injury. They really milk. The player doesn't milk it. The organization does. Hey, no. On a normal back
paying
in the
him
day,
too much money. We got to be cautious.
Give me a shot and let me play tomorrow. Now it's let's take a couple weeks, make sure it mends. That's just the nature of the game, and it's not the players; it's the organizations and how they look at it. They have a huge investment in these players, which they do. And they're very careful, and they always go on the side of caution.
I was just in closing there with the pitchers. I mentioned that 60 guys hitting triple digits last year, which is insane to me. But you've now got so many guys. I read a really interesting article. I think it was Eno Saris with The Athletic, and he talked about the grip pressure that all these guys are just such grip, and when you're gripping the ball that tightly, it's obviously tightening up everything in the forearm and the elbow, and that. It's no wonder that, because a lot of these organizations, they're not necessarily concerned with, can you go the distance? Can you give me 5 innings where you throw just absolute gas? That seems to be what it's all about.
Why has that changed, though?
Because hitting's become what?
Why has it changed? Do you think for 1 minute in my career I ever said, I'm going to swing 80%? But now
because
all of a sudden
bullpens
they
now,
swing. Oh, no. But as a pitcher, do you think in 1992, there's a guy that came out of the bullpen in the 7th inning and said, I'm not going to air it out here. I'm just going to smooth it.
No, but I'm saying from the rotation, though, we're talking about. Like this was, I think I heard Smoltz or one of those guys say, like, it's not a matter of, I see what you're saying now. It's not a matter of saying, like, oh, I'm going to kind of, it's just 60% here for the first few innings. But they knew, and young guys kind of knew, how to build themselves up a little bit, and that their goal, their number one goal, they wanted to get a W,
I see what you're saying.
They wanted to go deeper into games.
Right. It's all about spin rate and velocity. And we got to hit these numbers it's just
crazy. Come out
crazy
balls to the wall, and if you make it through 5 innings, you've done your job. And that's kind of what it is. But we'll save that for another show. Boonie, the podcast, I mentioned to you off air, but I talked about it on Twitter and whatnot. You had Deion Sanders. Who did you just have? An actor, movie guy.
I don't know. They're so plentiful. I mean,
it's where the stars go to hang. Yeah. It's where the stars go. John Anderson was a very good interview.
He was great.
I caught that. Johnny. He was outstanding.
And I told him, I said, Johnny, I wouldn't know who you were unless, I watched Wipeout. Because that was his big thing. He was the Wipeout guy, him and John Henson. No, he's great. And he's one of those classic Sports Center guys. He was a lot of fun.
Wherever you can find your podcast, the Bret Boone podcast.
Timmy Kirchin. We got Kirchin and his son coming on next week. I love Tim.
His son worked in Cleveland here.
Yeah, he's starting a podcast with his son. So I want to get his thoughts on working with Dad.
Jeff Kirchin, he worked in Cleveland right down the hall from me when I was at my old place. Boom, he was good kid, great kid.
I think I've got Brendel Chambly from the Golf Channel coming on before the Augusta. I want to get his thoughts on, because he's
never shy on opinions. No,
he's argumentative. I want to talk about him and Mickelson and this Live Tour versus the PGA Tour, because he's a staunch PGA guy. I'm going to let him know that, hey, these guys start throwing around that kind of money, you can't get on these guys for going to Live Tour. They got to take care of their families. Everybody's not Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods, where they just have $100 million a year sponsorship. Some of these guys are like, wait a minute, that money they're offering me. I talk about it all the time. It's like if Major League Baseball had an alternative, and I was in my career, and the Seattle Mariners were offering me $9 million, and this alternative league was offering me $25 million a year. Guess where I'd been playing?
$25 million league.
Guess who? 99.999% of walking, breathing human beings would be playing.
Boonie, I mean, you've got to somehow those memberships at those prestigious clubs that you belong to, golf clubs, they, you might be able to get by with your good looks with some of them, but a lot of them want cold hard cash. So that's you'd have to go for the 25.
It talks loud, and it's especially when you have a small window to earn a living. I don't begrudge these guys at all going to that Live Tour. It's just
on another episode, I'm going to tell you. You probably already know this, but I read Mickelson's book by Alan Shipnuck. And in it, he starts the book with just stories by, the first chapter is just stories by random people. Tom Candiotti goes on a little.
We had Candiotti on recently.
Did he? Oh, the gambling when he went up to Phil's suite, and there were just TVs everywhere, and it was crazy. It was serious business. But Candy says that the best line of the night was, we're all going to head down, place our bets. And Candiotti said Mickelson looked at him and he goes, Candy, you should definitely go before me, because when I go, the lines are going to move a little bit. Because Phil just never messed around.
No, he didn't.
That's for another show. Boonie, it is so great to reconnect with you. Keep up the great work, and we will do this again next week, we hope, as long as you are just so gracious to come on the Chico.
Yeah. You got all these sponsors. What do I get out of these sponsors? Your pizza. Let's go.
Well, we're still waiting for a gold glove. We're waiting for a signed T-shirt to hang. We'll get you. I will send you. I don't think you have locations there. They don't have locations out in Southern Cal. Maybe they have. Maybe they'll build one off the.
Is it thin crust?
Oh, they've got it. Boonie, let me, and I'm not just saying it, because Master Pizza and Michael LaMarco, 22 specialty pizzas. You want thin, you want thick. This guy,
you put them in contact with my people.
Seriously?
No, I'm kidding. I just like saying my people, like I'm a big shot.
Well, whatever crust, whatever. We'll see if maybe we can get.
When I
something
come
out
to
there.
Cleveland, I expect a professional pie.
You'll get a professional pie. You just get here, Boonie. You get here, and
I'm getting close to you. No, I'm going to Cincinnati on the 4th, 5th, 5th, and 6th of April. I'm popping over to Cincinnati. I've got a meet and greet, and I'm going to the Reds Museum, the Hall of Fame Museum, and
so you got shake hands, kissing babies type thing.
Yeah, I have 3-day extravaganza. It's cool. Going home.
I might make a trip down 71 South and maybe crash that party of yours.
4th, 5th, and 6th.
All right.
Be there, be square.
Boonie, keep up the great work, buddy. We love you as always, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, Chico.
Thanks, pal. All righty, welcome back. Wrapping things up on this opening day edition of the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network, and so glad you could join us, and of course, so glad as he has done the last 4 seasons with us. Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman, he will be a mainstay for us each and every week here on the Chico Bormann Show. We will bring you baseball, and more baseball. And, of course, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Master Pizza. 22 specialty pies, 15 different locations. They just opened up one in Streetsboro. Boom. It not only has the pizzeria, it's got an ice cream shop in it as well. I mean, LaMarca's not messing around. But I've partnered with these guys for, a few years and have known Michael for a while. He just does everything the right way. The food's great, but he's proud of the expansion, getting back into that, expanding these franchises again the way it used to be when Master Pizza was just incredible. And they're right there again now and just really doing some great stuff. So check them out, Master Pizza, masterpizza.com. Master Pizza, taste above all. Peppadew Punch is now, it may have eclipsed the old world pepperoni sausage bone.
I've been craving that Nashville hot chicken pizza.
Nashville hot chicken. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Specialty pizzas at normal places, you'll get your deluxe is your specialty pizza, or your veggie is a 22 specialty pizzas. There's you have to order and then I'll eat that one's going to be next time. It's that great. And I don't BS on this stuff. So check them out, Master Pizza, masterpizza.com. Master Pizza, taste above all. All right, let me just say this on the Guardians. Reiterate kind of what I said earlier. I think the Twins won the division. I think the Guardians, I don't, anywhere between 80 and 85 wins. I mean, I'd love to sit here as the eternal optimist. I just, I got to see these guys produce. And it's not even so much about like, okay, well, what's going to happen, just with the outfield, which, wow, I mean, they've got a long way to go. But I think the biggest thing for me for this team, at least offensively, is the guys that we expected to be great last year because they were great in 2022 and they didn't deliver. Steven Kwan, Andres Gimenez. Can those guys get back to where they were 2 years ago? That would go a long way. And they're never going to be a juggernaut offensively, but becoming a respectable team and a respectable team with the bats. The rotation, I really think they're going to miss Gavin Williams. I hope that's not serious because, again, I think he was going to make a big leap this year. And the bullpen, I'm not concerned about Clase. Barlow was a nice addition, but, man, getting to those guys could be interesting, at least in the beginning here, dealing with injuries. So we shall see. Also, we're going to get to more of this coming up next week. Cavaliers, horrible loss to the Charlotte Hornets last night. I mean, horrible loss. Now, here's the thing. It's still all about the postseason. Do you like to see that sort of thing? Hell no. Because JB said it, everybody said it. They just weren't in. I know they've had a lot of back-to-backs, and I know the back-to-backs come with a lot of injuries still. But this comes down to, and is some of this, they're just trying to get as healthy as possible to make the strongest run possible in the postseason. Right now, they get knocked down to the 4th seed. I get the frustration, but go easy on because really, if you guys are being honest, the pitchforks were out with JB at the end of last season, beginning of this season. You were waiting for an opportunity to pounce. I'm concerned too. And if they have an early exit in the postseason and it's somewhat similar to last year, then yeah, we got to have that conversation about JB. I just wait and see. We got to get Donovan Mitchell back to being Donovan Mitchell. Explosion Donovan Mitchell, being able to drive by guys. That's the guy that they desperately need and have to have if they're going to make any kind of run in the NBA postseason. So we'll touch on that. Jimmy Haslam, we knew the ultimatum was coming. We knew he was going to. It's no secret. The consolation prize is essentially, $1 billion or whatever it is to renovate the old. But what they really want, they see the Minnesota Vikings, they see Ziggy Wolf and company, Ziggy Wolf and company, and that beautiful palace they have in Minnesota, and they've got stars in their eyes. Jimmy and D. Haslam do. Who knows? I still can't realistically close my eyes and see a dome football stadium in Brook Park. You know what I mean? But crazier things have happened here in Cleveland. We know that. All right. Thanks to Bret Boone. Thanks to all of you for listening and watching and doing all of that. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Also to Michael Bone producing. And, of course, our fine sponsor today, Master Pizza, taste above all. I'm Mike Chico Bormann. We will do it again next week. Happy opening day. Oh, by the way, Sweet 16 is back in college basketball. This is a fun Thursday, kids. Enjoy your holiday. Happy Easter. We'll talk to you next week. See you.